Well, I got the latest rumor out of New Zealand talking about robotic hookers by the year 2050, robotic prostitutes or hookers. And quite obviously, the people who noticed the Japanese robots are pretty lifelike that came out in 2007. A lot of people had that on their mind. Like, guy, the first thing I thought, wonder about that. You know, a lot of guys thought that, I'm sure, no matter what the hell they say. And actually, I told Tony, somebody I know, I'll mention his name, because he got this conniving, manipulative wife, and I always says, you ought to buy this, even if it costs you $1,000,000. It's a hell of a lot cheaper, and you got a lot of bullshit to put up with, and it's probably going to sell. It's probably going to sell. Now, I know the one big advantage I say with the robot is that there's no STDs or there's no problem with hurting people and all this type of stuff like that. Now, as far as STDs, if you actually search some of my health videos, you probably get a hint, because what I think with sexually transmitted diseases, they could be a thing of the past if people are practicing the right type of alternative healing. I do think they would be a thing of the past, and we'd be back to 1960s style sexual freedom in this country again. If you combine what I know about alternative healing and we had truly professional medical people, there would actually be no STDs at all, and we'd have true sexual revolution as we had back in the 1960s again. Now, I know that this robot is one thing that kind of promises that, because there'd be no STDs involved, and there's no victimization of women, which sometimes I really disagree with, because I don't know if they're always victims or not. I've noticed there's always a story, no matter how you put it, and sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not. But I'd like to point out that this is probably going to be something that's going to take off well before the year 2050. And it's something that the technology is probably going to come on a lot stronger and a lot faster than people think. If you think back to when Sony came out with Beta, then it went to VCR, and there's the DVD players, and now it's Blu-ray and all other stuff. And we used to have the 8-track tapes. It went from 8-track tapes to cassettes, and then CDs, and then MP3 iPods and all that stuff. So this technology is going to actually take off a whole lot faster than people think. But I also got to point out, one of the reasons that even VCR technology grew so fast was due to porn. It was. A lot of people don't want to say that, but it's true. It was due to porn. Actually, porn is actually what actually drove a lot of the internet, too. Porn actually drives a lot of the internet. So, sex is actually one of the strongest human drives there is. And right now, in Western society, and pretty much throughout the world, but mostly in Western society, relationships are like totally shattered. So, they're pretty much, everybody's dissatisfied no matter what they have. They just don't, they want something better. They just don't like the situation they're in. So actually, prostitution could probably thrive in a Western society if it wasn't for laws against it. So this would probably take off very well in Western society, because basically it's a vending machine operation. It's not prostitution. And there wouldn't be pimps, there'd be vending machine operators. Now, the one disadvantage of this thing, obviously, is that you can't have it walking around on the street, because it would be stolen by other vending machine operators or whatever. There's all kinds of garbage would have to be set up in some type of, penny arcade, whatever the hell it is, or whatever the hell it costs. But you know what I'm talking about. It would have to be like in a carnival setting or whatever the hell it would be. It wouldn't be something like prostitution on the streets. Now, but I would think that this would actually take off very fast, because the sex drive is probably the strongest drive in human beings, male and female. If you look at everything a male or female buys, it's always somehow about attracting, making themselves more attractive, more appealing. That's what sells. If you look at what women do for their hair, their makeup, clothes, fashion, all the things, perfume, you name it. And, guys do whatever they do for, different things, like, it could be things they buy to whatever, attract to sex and everything. So it's like there's a million reasons this would actually sell. And like I says, like a lot of things, a lot of technologies in the past have taken off because of basically sex. So this sex robot thing is probably going to take off like crazy. Now, where it can actually change the world very much is it could actually alter a lot of different things as far as lifestyles, and also, you wouldn't even think that a lot of these problems where people have all these weird fetishes, they want to be with 16-year-old girls or 16-year-old boys, whatever the hell it is, they could actually just buy a robot, and considering it's just a vending machine, there's probably no illegality to it, and, well, maybe there could be, but I don't know what the hell would be wrong with it anyway, but it's something that is probably going to take off. Now, as far as who and what company would be the one that would be first on the forefront, I would like to know. Because if I was the entrepreneur that had I had some proprietary technology and software and all this other stuff that made these things, I would, without a doubt, be the richest man in the world inside of no time flat if nobody killed me. Nobody didn't kill me first or something. Because, like I stated, the sex drive is really the most, like, in other words, if you look back, what every single product was out there was probably, even if you go back to the 50s, even you'll go to cigarette ads, Marlboro Man, why did, it was like get the guy to smoke a cigarette because he's the Marlboro Man. He's out there in the West. He's out there, roughing it or some bullshit. So he's smoked his cigarette, But it's all about, image and appeal. So this damn robot is going to take off like crazy once it gets a little more realistic. But once it gets up to a certain stage, and it's actually there, it's just that the price is way up there for the average person. So what we need today is a Henry Ford, like with the Model T, to make these robots, and he will be filthy rich. And, despite what people will try to denounce about this, and it's going to be very tough for the religious people to denounce this, because it's like, it's a godsend in a way, because it's pretty much going to put a lot of people out of business. Besides, problems with prostitution, it's probably going to put out of business a lot of people who are very plastic and shallow. Like, it could be male or female, because, there could be male robots, female robots, or whatever the hell it is. And you get rid of, basically people are going to have to be real. It's going to change things quite a bit. But as this technology grows, it's going to be quite interesting, because I think that at some point in the future, robots are going to be so human-like that you're not going to be able to tell the difference between a human and a robot at all, period. At all. And this actually does open up a lot of crazy things, because if I was an entrepreneur and I had these things and I was able to manufacture them, I wouldn't just be thinking about manufacturing things that look like people per se. I'd be thinking, I want one to look like she's an alien from Venus, different colors, something different, exaggerated something, something different about them and all this type of stuff. And that's why this is probably going to take off. Like, in other words, back in the 1800s, people would go to a show on a theater or something like that. They just couldn't imagine the technology that we have today. They just couldn't imagine it. And, they're given a date of 2050 of when this is going to be available. I'd say it's already available today, pretty much. It is. It's just that it's expensive as all hell. But like I said, once we have the Henry Ford of the sex robots start developing these, or the new Bill Gates or whatever, or new Steve Jobs, like in Apple, what's going to happen is it's going to take off like crazy. And once it starts taking off, forget about it. There's no turning back. So, right now, this is almost like a joke. It's like nobody, somebody come out with this thing from New Zealand they're talking about. Oh, there's going to be sex hookers that are robots and all this kind of garbage. Well, you know what? I kind of figured that when they first came out with those Japanese robots, and I joked to Tony. I says, you should just replace your wife with one of those, and you'd have a lot less problems. And that wasn't really a joke because I probably would have done that. And I said, to hell with that stuff. But it's probably going to have a million different applications out there, and it's going to run into a lot of other situations too, because women are bitch about guys working on their cars or their bikes and spending money on it. Well, now they could just buy a robot, and the hell would it, if they want a performance chip, it could be the robot. So, and then you don't need the other parts. So, because, like I said, a lot of people, it's all about sex, and that's all they give a damn about. So if it's real, it's real. So what's going to happen today? I think this technology is going to take off a lot faster than people expect. Look back at the 8-track tapes. Boy, that was really hot technology back in the 60s, wasn't it? Putting that big old 8-track in a car. Look what happened when Sony came out with that beta stuff. Then they had the VCR, and oh wow, that was super high tech back then. Oh my God, Well, it's nothing now, nothing, and nobody would even thought of wireless communication. So at one point in time, I think by the year 2050, these robots are probably going to look more real than humans, with perfection. So that's where the world's going to. Interesting food for thought. So I don't know how they're going to fit that in with religion, So, but like I stated, as far as the STDs and stuff, that's one advantage they say to these robots. But I also state, and I also think, in my personal opinion, STDs are a thing in the past even right now. There's a lot of alternative medicine that can get rid of every STD out there. That's my opinion. It's just my opinion, but my opinion's based upon a lot of studies. So it's important to remember some of this stuff because there's a lot of myths out here that are put to the general masses, and they don't realize what's actually available to them as far as medical help and stuff like that. So, as far as having a sexual revolution, there could actually be one right now without robots, that's for sure. But as far as these things taking off, definitely. So as far as it being taken to 2050, no way. They're already here. They're already produced. There's just too much money right now. And they're going to start being mass produced. I know they will. I wish I had proprietary technology on this stuff because I'd be the wealthiest man in the world if I could sell these damn things.